In academic, is that just making sure I understood you?
Well, I mean, some of your supporters suggested that it's competition and there are biological differences. Their words, not mine. And so if we're going to separate them on the athletic field, should we separate them in an academic competition?
Now, this is strictly sports,
I understand what the
biological
bill
issues.
does, Mr. Chair. I'm just asking whether or not she thinks we ought to broaden it to include those academic competitions.
The question is does the delegate believe that it should be included to include academic competitions as well, or merely sports?
So no, the intent of this bill is solely for sports. That's the intent.
Okay.
Okay. I have a follow-up question, Mr.
Delegate
Chair.
Bourne.
I think one of the previous speakers, Ms. Knoyton, made reference to this, but I'm sure that there are studies, and I've read them, I don't buy into them, that suggest that Black Americans, Black people are more athletically gifted from a physical perspective. And should we extend this ban or this separation to Black and white students so that white student athletes can have a better opportunity to be on the teams and get scholarships and all the things that you and your supporters have suggested happens when you allow trans humans?
So that thought has absolutely never occurred to me. We are talking about the biological differences between men and women. It's that simple. There are biological differences, and individual personal differences has nothing to do with the intent of this bill.
Thank you. Delegate Fillercorn.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have several questions. I'd like to ask the patron if she is aware of any transgender youth participating in athletics here in the Commonwealth of Virginia.
So, well, yes, we have 25 that have been approved to compete in Virginia. I didn't want to start listing people and individuals. I mean, this is a bill that's based on science and biology and not personal individuals.
Mr. Chairman, follow up.
Delegate Fillercorn.
Is the patron aware of any issues of fairness that the schools or specific leagues or athletic associations have not been able to handle adequately under existing regulations?
Well, the fact that a biological man can compete against a biological woman in a women's competition, that is unfair. And I'm sorry, I don't want to continue. That's the answer to your question. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, follow up.
Delegate Fillercorn.
I'd like to know why this is an issue of urgency. We have had transgender youth living in the Commonwealth. There's been no takeover of women's sports up until now. And I just don't understand why this conversation continues. It's framed as a crisis that needs to be resolved now. And my question is why?
It's not a matter of how many times this happens. If it happens even once, if one girl loses her chance to win, that's enough. If one girl loses her chance to compete, that's enough. That's the issue here. It's not the number. It's not how often. It's not how many women are going to lose their opportunities. It's not how many women are going to have their dreams crushed. It's that it can happen, and we need to make sure that it doesn't.
Mr. Chairman, speaking to the bill at the appropriate time.
Delegate Fillercorn, go ahead.
I'd like to say that I've had the opportunity to serve in this body for many, many years, since 2010. And I think about when we come to the Commonwealth as legislators, as Virginia legislators, we come here to solve a problem. We come here to improve the lives of Virginians. I feel like this bill is mean-spirited, it's discriminatory, and certainly offensive. I feel like we need to think about what is the problem that we're trying to solve here, and how can we solve it in a reasonable way? Is there a crisis? Is there a sense of urgency? Is there a problem? We can't pass laws. We should not be here to pass laws to discriminate against another group of individuals that harm people because we dislike them, because they're different than us, because they might not think like us, they might not look like us. That is not why we're here. I was extremely moved by those individuals that came up to testify here, by their bravery in opposition to this bill, that they took it upon themselves to say, this is discriminatory, don't single me out. I think we all know strongly what LGBTQ trans youth and individuals are going through every single day. Such discrimination against them, against who they are. I think as legislators, we're here to improve the lives of Virginians and to stand up for those most vulnerable. That is what we need to be focused on. Transgender girls and women playing sports is simply not a crisis. This, in addition,
Delegate
this bill
Thorcorn,
is an excuse.
I do have other people in the queue.
I just wanted to thank those that stood up today for who they are. Thank you.
Order in the chamber.
And as legislators, we
Delegate
want...
Bourne.
Mr. Chairman, I will finish up. I just want to say that we are here to stand up for you, to help improve the lives of Virginians, and that means standing up for those most vulnerable. That is why we are here in the legislature, and we hear you and we see you, and I will be voting no on this bill.
Delegate Bourne, you have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I've been involved in an elected capacity, public education, for 10 years now. And if I were to think about the top 5 issues plaguing our public education system right now, there is no way this issue rises to that level. We have buildings crumbling. We have teachers leaving the profession. We have students who are being failed by adults. And you heard from one of the speakers in opposition to this bill. The kids don't care. It's the adults. And so when we come to this committee, when we come to this legislature, our singular goal should be to improve education and the outcomes for our children. This bill does nothing but fly in the face of that goal. And while you may not want to expand, or I think you said something to the effect of, it never crossed your mind, well, our history is full of examples of making these harebrained, cockamamie comparisons and divisions based on race, based on gender. And Delegate, Mr. Chair, anybody who's listening, I can't understand for the life of me how you all are rationalizing the effect that this is going to have on little girls like my daughter, who I work hard every day to tell her she is just as good as anybody else, no matter their color, their class, their gender, anything. Why are we putting a ceiling on young girls' dreams, hopes, aspirations, and ambition? I think finally, Mr. Chair, and I would, again, urge everyone to oppose this measure. I grow really tired, as a lot of us do, coming here and have to fight over and over again because a certain small percentage portion of very small-minded people need a group or a person to hate. And that's all this bill is. So, Mr. Chair, members of this committee, I would strongly urge you, plead with you, please protect our kids, all of our kids, and vote no on this bill.
I'm going to remind members of the committee, argue passionately for or against your bills. But the next person that gets up here and says that if somebody disagrees with them, this particular policy position, that automatically makes them small-minded, mean, or looking for someone to hate, I am going to cut you off. We will have a civil dialogue. Delegate McGuire, order.
Speaking to the bill, Mr. Chairman.
Good.
So in 2014, a transgender fighter, MMA, Fallon Fox, cracked the skull of Tamika Burt. Biological men, science, are physically stronger than biological women. This is not discrimination on the transgender community. This is discrimination on women. And as the representative Elhart from Idaho said, in a basketball team, you end up with 12 male players and you no longer have female sports. So this is discrimination on women. We must support women, our daughters, and I ask the body to vote for this bill.
Okay, I have no one else in the queue. Committee moves my motion. I have a motion to report properly seconded. Members will cast their vote on the board. Excuse me, can you modify your motion to report as amended? Second. Motion properly seconded. Go ahead and vote on the board. Clerk will close the roll. HB 1387 passes out with a vote of 6-4. Thank you, Delegate Greenhalgh.